Hello, I'm Rachel Moore of Rachel Really Social. That's rachelreally.social. And I am doing a walkthrough on how to start your own Blab and just get it all set up so it's optimized and ready to go. So I'm going to jump right into it so we can focus on what we want to focus on. I am on the Blab homepage, which is at blab.im. This has gone through some evolution since the beta version of Blab has been introduced to the world, so I'm sure it'll go through more changes. This is assuming that you have already signed up into Blab, and it's free to do so. You do need a Twitter account to sign into Blab. Basically, what it's going to do is when you first arrive to Blab and have not registered, it'll ask you to sign up. It's going to ask you for your Twitter sign in, and once you sign in there, it's going to basically replicate everything from your Twitter account into your Blab account. You'll notice that in Blab, I have the same handle as I would in Twitter. This actually brought over my Twitter description from when I signed up, and it shows you how many followers I have and following. This is within Blab, not within Twitter, but just know that everything else ID-wise is the same. But we want to create a Blab. So the nice thing is you have this very bright purple button, which is a theme color of, purple is the theme color of Blab, over here to start a new Blab. And we're going to click on that and come to a pretty simple interface page. So you want to host a Blab. This immediately indicates to you you are the host. You're the organizer of this Blab. When it asks you what you're going to talk about, that is going to be the title of your Blab. So you want to, just like with a blog post or an article, you want to make this strong with the keywords and very specific as to what you're going to be doing in Blab. So I'm actually going to call this Blab Setup Tutorial because that's what I'm doing. I'm going to call it a test zone, and also an education is over here. And I can do up to 3 tags as appropriate. So I could also click on marketing since it's kind of a marketing tutorial nature. But do select your tag so people know what it's about. Your next option is to add a custom image. You don't have to. I really recommend that since we're in a visual space. The current dimensions for your image are 1000 pixels wide by 450 tall. I'm going to grab an image I've used for someone, one of my clients. This won't be sized correctly because it was from a prior image dimension they used to provide to us, but I do need to show you something here. You'll notice I have a free space here in the bottom left corner. Blab is going to overlay the title of my Blab onto the left bottom corner of my image. So keep that in mind when you're creating your images to make sure you have this space free. Again, that could change, but as of right now, that's the way it's set up. I could set my Blab to start immediately once I click this button, or I could set it to start in the future. I'm going to go ahead and do that. You'll see that you're restricted to schedule future Blabs for about 2 to 2.5 weeks into the future. So you will need to set yourself reminders if you want to go ahead and schedule a whole year of Blabs. You're not able to do that right now. You have to go back in. I don't know if they'll ever change that, but as of right now, again, that's the status quo. I'm going to schedule this to start tomorrow, and here's why I want to do that, because I want to show you just some different things that happen when you do schedule a Blab. So I'm going to click schedule. It's going to think about it a moment. Jeopardy theme. And now we're in the Blab interaction page. And if you've been in a Blab, this should look relatively familiar to you. Once the Blab starts, this is where all the action happens in the center. But right now we're in a pending mode. So it's got a countdown, very handy to tell you how much more time until your Blab starts, what time it does start. Here's my image, and as promised, the title of my Blab is overlaid on the bottom left corner of the image. I could jump the gun and go ahead and start this thing now. I'm not going to do that. And we'll click on the edit button in a moment because I do have some things to show you for how you can get back into that interactive page to change some things and settings with your Blab. And then you can embed your Blab. This is incredibly handy. Any host or co-host of the Blab, you're allowed to grab this code and you can embed it in your blog. It's an iframe, and essentially what it'll do, it'll appear on your blog or your website very much as a video frame that shows all this information. Once the Blab starts, it'll allow people to watch it live from your website. They won't be able to interact with the Blab unless they go into the Blab website here and do so. But it is very handy. One thing I will make a note of is that you don't want to have that window open or that tab open on your browser at the same time you're conducting the actual Blab. You're going to get feedback because essentially you have both Blabs running in 2 different windows. So make sure you have that window shut when you actually start your Blab. Just a little overview of the interactive as well. On the left, you'll see I have the title of my blab over here. I do want to point out that the title of my blab has also become part of the URL, the custom URL or link for this blab. It's got me as the organizer, and then the words of the blab title are here. That's important, and I'll show you that in a moment. At any point, you can tweet or share on Facebook the blab. It'll pre-populate a message of a tweet, and obviously the blab link is already going to be added, so that's really handy. You can customize this at any time, saying providing a blab tutorial for getting started and scheduled. Sweet. And I can also hashtag blab. So you can do as you would normally do with composing a tweet. Just know that you're restricted to a certain number of characters because that's where the link's going to go. So I can go ahead and click a post a tweet. Once I did that, it's showing me over on the right side that I did tweet that out. So anytime someone shares, use these buttons to share out. You're going to see it over here. So let's hop over to this side and see the interaction of this. You can do a lot of stuff with the blab before it even starts. Let's say that I'm co-hosting this blab, and my friend comes in, and if anyone else comes to this link, they'll see a subscribe option here. Once they click subscribe, it'll show that they've subscribed over here. Now, if I have a co-host and they have subscribed, it'll show that here. I can click on their user and designate them as a host. And once they are designated as a host, they now have the option of embedding the blab into their site and also starting the blab, which is very handy. So keep that in mind, that if you are co-hosting with someone, as soon as you set up your blab, have them go to this link so that they can subscribe, and then you'll need to go in and set them as a host. And again, all it is, it's a matter of clicking on their name, which I just did. You'll see a little host plus icon up here. You would click that, and that would add that person as the host. Very handy. Also, I can pre-set up my blab. If I hit this lovely icon here, it's going to show me, well, here are some options I can do and interact with this sidebar. The one I want to focus on is the question one, because then I could say, how do I set up my blab? Hit enter. So I've just set up a question that'll already appear in the blab once it starts, and now it's over in my question list on the left. The nice part about questions in blabs is if a lot of people are star your question, they're upvoting that question. The questions with the most upvotes and stars are going to be at the top of your question list on the left. So that's incredibly handy, because then you can see, well, I don't have to go through and find out which is the most popular question people have told me. Once I click on answer question, this is going to get zoomed over and take up a seat in your blab, so everyone who's watching can see this is what we're talking about right now, and they're going to answer my question. It's very handy. One other thing on the right sidebar is in mentions. Let's say that you have a very busy sidebar and a lot of people are commenting and mentioning. If you just want to drill down into people who have mentioned you, you can click on mentions and it'll give you that shorter list where you can start favoriting people or replying directly to them and such. Now, I do want to show you some important factoid that I've learned when I've been setting up blabs. Particularly, I ran into this when I was trying to set up my images and realizing that I needed to keep this left corner free, and so I would change up my image. Well, here's what's going to happen. If I go into edit, it's going to ask me, okay, well, what do you want to change? Now, if I change the title of my blab, that's totally fine. Keep in mind, it's going to change the URL then of the blab. And for anyone who's going to be sending out or scheduling messages to market your blab, keep this in mind. You will always want to grab whatever the current updated link of that blab is. Otherwise, I've noticed that Hootsuite and other, I think Buffer even, a couple other platforms, if you're grabbing a prior link from before you edited this blab, it's not going to feed in correctly or pre-populate that that social share correctly. I always try to grab the most current blab. So I'm not going to change my title right now because that would adjust my URL, but I want to show you something else. Let's say I decide I don't want it to be tomorrow, I want it to be the day after. Okay, and that's all I'm going to change. And I don't have to worry about the image. I don't have to reload my image or anything. I just changed the date. So I'm going to click Update Blab. I want you to notice what just happened. So Blab has updated and added an appendage onto the URL of -1, which shows me this is a secondary version of this Blab because of an edit. Again, I really recommend if you have made a change like that to take this link, not the prior one without the -1. Take this link and use it and update any of your social sharing to make sure that it's correct. Blab will redirect. If I take off this -1, I'm still going to get to this blab. It's no problem. But I've noticed that there's been a couple hiccups when I'm trying to use that older URL versus the -1 to mark it out messages prior. So just keep that in mind, just something to know. And again, if you change the title, that's still going to update the URL again into something different. It will redirect, which is helpful to know. And that's pretty much how you set up a blab. And once you're ready, you'll arrive here right as it starts. The blab will auto start for you. It will not automatically turn on your video or anything. Once it starts, once this countdown hits 03, 02, 01 and starts, you'll see a seat open here where you can call in as the host. You will need to do that and it'll start you up. It is helpful to have a co-host because let's say for some reason your browser is having a wonky time that morning or your webcam doesn't want to kick in. You might not be able to call in or might not have a visual. Your co-host therefore might have some better luck. That way at least your blab's starting on time. That's pretty much it. That's how to set up a blab. One last thing I want to mention as well. Let's say that, as blabs often do, you get into a blab and you've talked to a guest or talked to some people, and let's say that you take advantage of this little option at the bottom where you can change the topic. I'm going to change the topic to Blab is awesome, and I update that. Now notice, once I change it here, it is also updated over here. The URL hasn't changed, but the topic has changed. I want to bring this up because let's say you started off your blab with a guest and you had their name in the topic and it was all on topic about what we're talking about. But let's say they left and other people came in and the blab evolved into something different and you changed this topic. Once you have finished this blab, it's going to be saved in your profile based on this last topic and not the initial one. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I did a blab with one of my lovely connections, Tanya, and as you can see, it's in my replays. This is a past blab where we talked to her. We did not talk about ugly Christmas sweaters with her. We talked about journalism and women in journalism and editorialism and social media and where it's going for news organizations and stuff. Unfortunately, that's not reflected in the title. So I need you to keep that in mind too. If your blab's going to evolve from the start to finish, whatever that last topic is how you're going to be remembered for this blab. So just keep that in mind as well. And one last thing, this is kind of hidden, but if you want to make any changes to any of your blabs, your replays you can hide from your replays. And let's say that one I just scheduled I don't want to do anymore. If I go into my scheduled, click on the nice little 3 dots, I can delete this blab. And I'm going to do that because I'm not actually going to conduct that blab. You'll see that it's still showing there, but if I refresh my screen, my upcoming blab is now gone. That, my friends, is how to get started on Blab and how to try to use it to your advantage and do it right the first time. So I hope this is helpful. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to do more of these in the future. If you have another topic of a how-to you'd like me to cover, I am more than happy to do that. Just tweet at me at Rachel_Really, and I will get on it for you. Have a wonderful day. Get to blabbing, and I'll hopefully be on your next blab. It'll be a smashing success.